There are places in England where the ground is quite literally given way, and yet somehow it's the people who seem least stable. I went up to St Andrew's at Kiln Pit Hill, expecting, I think, a ghost. Not a dramatic one, no Dickensian nonsense, but at least something. A tremor in the air, a suggestion that I was not entirely alone. It's been said by a few folk that they felt as if they are being watched. Personally, I didn't. And there was nothing. No presence, no unease, no whisper from the beyond. Only wind, stone, and that most unsettling of companions, perspective. Because this church, rather wonderfully, was not haunted by spirits, but by coal. Beneath this hill, beneath these graves, beneath this altar, men once dug into the earth, chasing black fuel for a world that would eventually forget them and the church above their heads. And in doing so, they undermined it, quite literally. The ground shifted, the structure faltered, the church had to be repaired, but not by prayer, but by practical necessity. There's something almost too perfect about that. A house of God weakened not by doubt, but by industry. And yet, even that wasn't enough to finish it. What truly did for St Andrews was something far more ordinary. People simply stopped needing it. They moved, they built elsewhere. A new church rose in a more convenient place, and this one was left behind, like a tool no longer required. Not destroyed, not desecrated, just outgrown, which, if we're honest, is a far colder fate. I walked among the graves as one does, reading names that no longer belong to anyone living. Some of them born in the 1600s. Think about that. These were people who lived full, complicated lives, who feared God with a seriousness we can barely imitate, and now exist only as inscriptions slowly being erased by weather. No followers, no profile, no algorithm to remember them, just stone. And I've felt no fear, only a quiet, creeping loneliness. Not my own exactly, but something in the place itself, as though it had been left waiting for something that never returned. Inside, the church bears its own small indignities, scratched names in the woodwork, little declarations of presence, modern, impatient, faintly pathetic. I was here. Yes, and in time you too will be reduced to a mark someone else half notices and doesn't understand. There's a kind of quality in that, at least. The 17th century dead outside carved in stone. The 21st century visitor inside, carved in pine. Both whispering the same thing. I existed, briefly. But then, just when the place had settled into its quiet dignity, we arrive at the modern contribution. A printed sheet of paper left at the entrance. A manifesto of sorts. Transhumanism, digital identity, DNA-altering vaccines, nanobots, cybernetic organisms, artificial intelligence and social credit systems. And the question? Trembling at the top of the page like a badly tied shoelace, why aren't we awake yet? Now, I stood there on this wind-beaten hill beside a church abandoned by relevance, surrounded by the dead of 4 centuries, and thought, awake to what exactly? Because here's a place where men dug beneath the earth until the ground itself became unstable. Faith was replaced not by rebellion but by relocation, and entire lives have been reduced to names that no one reads twice. And yet we're told to worry about nanobots. I don't say this to mock, well, not entirely. Every age has its anxieties. The medieval man feared damnation, the Victorian feared moral decay. We fear systems that we barely understand, described in words we half believe. But standing here, the scale shifts rather dramatically, because whatever it is we're so desperately trying to wake up to, this hill has already seen worse. And then, just to deepen the absurdity, you turn and there it is, the Hopper Mausoleum. A monument so grand, so oddly theatrical, that it seems to have wandered in from a completely different story. Obelisks, classical flourishes, a statement of grief so elaborate it borders on vanity. Built for love, no doubt, but also, if we're honest, for remembrance, for permanence, for the quiet, stubborn hope that one might not be entirely forgotten. And yet, here it stands, beside a church that was forgotten, which is rather marvellous in a bleak sort of way. The modest house of God, left behind the living, the extravagant monument to the dead standing firm. If that isn't a commentary on human priorities, I don't know what is. I did consider removing the paper, throwing it in the bin, tidying the place, restoring its silence, but I didn't, because that sheet of paper, strange, frantic, slightly unhinged, it belongs here just as much as anything else. It's simply the latest layer. Another voice added to the long, ongoing murmur of human worry. Fear of death, fear of judgment, fear of irrelevance, fear of the future. It's all the same hymn, sung in different centuries. And perhaps that's the only real haunting of St. Andrew's. Not ghosts in the doorway, but the realization that everything we fear, everything we build, everything we argue about, will one day be reduced to a name, a mark, or a piece of paper left behind on a windy hill. And the hill will remain. So no, there are no ghosts here. Only the past sitting very quietly, and the present fidgeting beside it. If you enjoyed this wander through time, give the video a like, subscribe for more reflections from forgotten places, and I'll see you somewhere between what was and whatever it is we're so worried about becoming. And thanks for listening, everyone. I do hope you'll come back soon. You never know what you'll find. Bye for now.